All right. Hello, everybody watching on YouTube Live. This is Mark Seguin, Minnesota Swimming Vibe, with our craziest idea yet, our first ever live show every Sunday, 7 o'clock. I've picked the perfect guinea pig for the first one. Let me introduce Mr. Greg Summers, head coach, Mankato East. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks for having me. I love trying something new.
Thank you so much for being the guinea pig. I think that's outstanding. Give everyone a little bit about your background in coaching and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So I guess long story, but I'm going to try to make it as short as possible.
Right on,
Uh,
right on.
Coming out of high school as a swimmer, I was kind of setting my eyes on college swimming and had the like shoulder pains and stuff and wasn't convinced that was going to be the path for me. Ended up going to a college where there wasn't any swimming because I just wanted to cut ties and step back from it.
Sure.
Um, at the end of that freshman year, I was like, man, I miss the team dynamic. There's something really special about being part of a group and like just always having people that you can depend on. So going into my sophomore year of college, I thought, oh, you know what? There's a local high school team in Crookston. I'm just going to go volunteer. Some things kind of went down over that first week and a half, and I ended up taking over as head coach as a sophomore in college, which
Wow.
was just crazy, right? So
Yeah.
this team was, I don't know, 15 or 16 girls. So it made it a little bit easier to manage, but I was the only coach trying to figure out diving because coming from the swim background, I knew enough watching, but definitely put me in a weird spot. Section 8 coaches up there really saved my butt, and there was some fantastic people that got me going. So I was in Crookston for a few years. Eventually made my way into teaching in Jordan, and I was coaching like cross country and track there.
Okay.
Um, After a couple of years, I got my job at Mankato, and that's when I got back into swimming. And I started coaching with the West girls, and then the East girls position opened up, and now I've been there for a little over a decade.
And success has been found. We were
Good.
talking a little bit before we went live, but Mankato East kind of came out of, I'm going to say, out of nowhere last year in Section 1A. True team. We kind of thought Northfield was going to run away with it, but Mankato East pulls the shocker and wins by, I think, 20 points. And to
Yes.
prove that it's not a fluke, you come back in actual MSHSL sections and you win that by how many points was it?
I think it was five.
Five?
Yeah.
5 points. So you're coming down to the last relay at
Yes.
a
And
section meet.
honestly, that was quite the journey too. There were plenty of times throughout the meet where I don't know, I think it was maybe going into the 100 free. I think we were fourth overall in points, and girls were kind of looking at me like I thought we were going to hang here. And I was like, we've got it. Like, let's go. Let's get after it. We just started inching back and chasing down Northfield's lead and going into the 4 free relay. I was like, girls, if we win this, we've got the meet, but we got to get there. And Red Wing, they were pulling out some crazy swims.
Yeah,
Austin
yeah,
was pulling
yeah.
out crazy swims. Uh, Ends up being this kind of dramatic finish with like, is there a DQ or not happening?
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, so this probably added like 20 minutes because of a call that happened, but shouldn't have been the call. And yeah, like we were all panic mode and trying to figure out what's going on. So like you're switching hats from like I'm celebrating because this was phenomenal to like, oh no, how do we navigate what's happening? And sorted it all out. We ended up being the section champions. The section was just fabulous about all of it, and it was a like terrifying but exciting experience at the same time.
That's so cool. And we'll get more into that. Before we do get more into Mankato East and Greg, I did have a couple coaches reach out and want to give some shout outs to some swimmers or divers that have really excelled. So, first of all, Ashlyn Madsen of Delano wanted us to mention Layla Knoll, one of her, I believe, seniors this year, for just having a super positive attitude week one and setting some really strong goals. And also Evan Shanley from St. Cloud Apollo. There's Lindsay Garcia Rosario, and also Rutendo Nayagura. Those two are brand new swimmers, never swam competitively before. Rutendo is a senior and decided she was going to try swimming for the first time. And he just mentioned that they had such a great attitude, great work ethic week one. And we love to see that as coaches, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime you can get a new kid is awesome.
You got it. Anyone from Mankato East stand out so far week one? I know you've got some good leadership down there with a strong core of seniors.
Yeah, having 7 seniors, it's, there's like the 7 automatic captain type bodies that could be leading the way.
Yeah,
They're all stepping up in different ways, which is fantastic. Half that group is divers, and so then they're just leading the way with
even
getting
better.
your side going on the diving, and it's a good environment. And then we've got a huge group of like freshmen. I think we have 9 freshmen, and a couple of them are just taking the reins and like charging head in.
That's awesome.
One of them that stands out is Malia Lang as a freshman.
Okay.
She comes in with just this attitude of like, what's here? I'm going to take it. I'm going to go.
Oh, I
We were
love
doing
that.
some repeat 50s the other day, and she was like, that third one off the blocks, I think that was half a second off my best time. And I was like, all right, like, let's go. And if you're hitting close to best times in a practice, you've got the right attitude.
And it's all coaching at that point, I say. Whenever there's
Oh,
success,
yeah,
it's coaching. We're
absolutely.
kind of, isn't it? Yeah. We're kind of beginning of the season. So tell me a little bit, what's the Mankato East philosophy for beginning of the season practices? Are you a
Uh,
2 day guy? Are you like, let's layer in the yards? Are you technique? Are you fun and games? Are you a combo? What do you got?
Yeah, I like to lay it all out there. We do 2-a-days, and the
Okay.
last few seasons we've really amped up our weight room time.
Oh,
So
okay.
usually in our first couple of weeks, we're up there 3 times a week is kind of what I'm thinking. For the 2-a-days, I would say, I don't know, when I lay it out, it's like a Monday day one. I'm trying to hit the kids with some weird time intervals where it's like, okay, how fast can you go? Can you keep up? Then we switch it and do some like longer distance things and, hit some like 300, 400s. We'll do like 2 or 3 of those in a row. And then we'll go into some sprint stroke stuff and kind of see what happens. And I'm really looking for where does a kid start to break down coming into the
Okay.
season.
So kind of
It's,
finding the breaking point early on so you kind of have an understanding where that is for different kids.
Yeah, it's the one mentally, where are they? Are they
Yep.
coming in scared? Are they coming in ready to attack? For the new kids, it's also just like, can you swim more than freestyle and backstroke? Like if
Yeah.
you kind of have what looks like a breaststroke or a butterfly forming, my goal is to try to get every kid on the roster to swim the board throughout the season. And so, even those 7th and 8th graders that come out, yeah, let's get you in the 2 IM, let's get you in the
Yep.
100 fly. And those are usually the scared events for them. Like when
Yeah,
I tell a 7th
absolutely.
grader they have to do the 100 fly, they're like, "Ooh, could I actually do the 500 free instead?" Like that might be a better choice. But yeah, trying to hit lots of different things and go from there.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. That metric of kind of like event participation, like the number of different events, is a great metric for like 7th and 8th graders and new swimmers in general, right? Like there is nothing wrong with them going from a 3 event swimmer to a 6 event swimmer. Screw all the times at that point, right?
Yeah.
That alone is an accomplishment in itself because it is scary,
Hmm.
right? You've only got like 4 events in high school swimming that aren't scary.
Right. Yeah, and I think, part of it with the younger kids getting them into a variety of events is, how many times do you get to sections and you're trying to build your lineup and you're like, oh, what would be the best fourth body here? Because so many meets you're only running 3 as your priority, and trying to fill in the gaps even at like true team. And I think the more variety a kid has when you need it, then you can throw them in a relay, even where it's like, all right,
Yeah,
I need this third medley relay breaststroke filled, and going from there.
but that's great because in a year or two, that becomes your person on your first medley relay,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Like, and it
Yeah.
starts with that little first time that they get to do it. That's a great philosophy, and I like that you're providing the kids with a variety of things and not just, you know, hammer down, let's go. It sounds like you're accommodating all different kinds of skill levels and experience levels along the way. Let's
Yeah.
talk about swim meets a little bit because the interesting thing about high school is like the season starts and within 10 days or then like 5 practices, it seems like you're doing your first meet. What goes into picking your first meets and what as a coach are you trying to accomplish in these meets? Like what do you have coming up next week?
Yeah. So Thursday we'll swim against New Prague.
And that's just
That
a
one,
straight duel.
yeah, straight duel, and
Okay.
that one's been on our calendar for a good decade.
Okay.
Um, and then Saturday we go to Hutchinson with the invite, and the East team's been at that one since forever.
Multiple
Uh,
decades on that one.
yeah, yeah. So each of those, my philosophy tends to be The dual meet, I really want to build that team environment right away where we're getting kids cheering, we're getting good relays going. I think those are the two aspects that help build longevity in your season.
Yeah.
If you're struggling to put together a relay, just that like group mentality, or if you're not having like good cheers throughout the night, it makes it a lot harder come week 5, week 6, you're hitting October and kids are feeling it. Um,
Yeah.
Build
Oh,
that right away.
this show will have a much different conversation when we hit like week 7, right? It's
Yes.
not going to be about how do we get everyone cheering. It's like how do we keep them from crying, and
Oh yeah,
that's just the coaches, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Not even talking about the kids. We'll be crying at that point. So, do you talk with your leaders and your captains and your seniors about kind of what your focus is, so they can kind of help guide that as you get into the meet, or is that just something they inherently know through the culture? Walk me through that a little bit about how do you get this concept of I want kids to be comfortable and excited about their first meets to actually putting it into action.
Mhm. Yeah, I think part of that has been like a long-term building project where, when you take over as a new coach, you're walking into the team, they don't know you, you really don't know any of them, and you want to set up some kind of culture. And, early on for me, it was let's build it as a team. And whether
Okay.
you're a brand new kid coming in as a senior, like the girl from Apollo, or you got, kids that have been there for 6 years and are ready to wrap up senior year. Um, Building that culture does take some time. And so early on, I definitely had to attack the captains, the seniors, and be like, hey, this is what I want to see. This is what's going to make you, just that much more of a leader coming out of this pool. Half these kids aren't going to take swimming any more serious after the high school year is done as a senior. And so then it's like, where can you go as a leader? Where can you be dependable, be a great person? And so, trying to build that culture. Now it's a little bit more automatic. We talk a little about some like sports psych stuff throughout the season and, kind of building in early here. What can you attack? Where can you feel almost that like vulnerability and can you face failure in some capacity? Trying new things and being risky. It's scary, but it also makes you a stronger person.
Yeah, no, I think those are all great points and a really interesting kind of like it's not a flip a switch thing. It's a over time building
Hmm.
um, the whole thing, and it's rewarding when you get to kind of that phase or that point where you kind of feel like you've got that mass where it's like it kind
Hmm.
of takes a life of its own.
Right.
That's very good. I just had a question come in. Who's one member of the team who really does a good job building up the team atmosphere?
Ooh.
That's coming in
Um,
from the crowd out there, so we got to make sure we get that.
yeah, there's a group of 3 seniors that individually they're awesome kids. When they're together, like that they're plotting something like Gru and his minions, and they're ready to get after it. They're ready to have fun. They're gonna go and if I needed to ask something of them, they're gonna take it on, and it's great. So Kelsey, Cameron, and Cami, 3
Uh
girls
oh.
that just have awesome attitudes. They're going after it.
Are they
Um,
back of the bus kids? I always find like the loud kids are always at the back of the bus.
yeah, yeah,
You girls.
right.
We'll get them on for a separate podcast about this later. But
You
that's
know, that'd be
awesome.
fun too. That'd be fun too.
It would definitely be fun. What are some of your non-negotiables of what you teach in the first couple weeks with your kids in practice? What are these things you're like, this is what we have to do well right off the bat?
A lot of it for me is knowing you have to put in that effort, right? Like if we're doing say 12 25s, you want to mix in, half underwater, half swims, right? If I'm doing them on the 30 that day or the 45 that day, like you're giving full effort. And then, some of those kids that are maybe your back end of your varsity roster into your JV roster, if we're running something on 30, some of those JV kids might not always make the intervals. But then I tell them, like, okay, if you miss one, you sit one, you jump back in right away. So even if the whole team is on the other side for that 25, you're still going to go, you're going to hit that next rep and continue. And, we'll make it balance in the end, but not giving up is the big part.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. Obviously, our sport is filled with failure, right?
Mhm.
We miss intervals all the time. Not because we
Right.
want to, just because that's part of training, right? And that
Yeah. The clock's
ability
your
to,
biggest competitor.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
you can sit on the side and sulk about it, or you can learn to dust off and get back on. Is there anything from a technique standpoint? That covers the mental standpoint that you're like, this is a Greg Summers special that our team always does well.
Yeah, I think, part of it is knowing I want the kids to do all the different events, the different strokes. And
Okay,
so one of the things we do, I kind of refer to it as like mixers, where, instead of 425's drill of whatever stroke I have in mind, I'm going to do it where they're going to start off with like 5 push-ups on deck. They're going to hop in, and our pool is shallow on both ends.
sure.
Um, and so then from both sides there, they're going to do like 5 streamline jumps where it's like hit those streamline jumps, attack the wall, attack the wall, attack the wall, do like a quick flip at the flags. And then you can throw in any number of drills where it's like from flags to mid pool, go breaststroke arms, flutter kick or fly kick, and then once you get to mid pool, do like another quick flip turn and transition to backstroke. And then at the end of the wall there for backstroke, go into your bucket turn, your backflip,
Yep.
and it's, if you can hit some of those pieces for 12 yards, now all of a sudden a 25 becomes so much more like attainable for a newer kid
Yeah.
or a younger
Yeah.
kid. And then, once they've done a few 25s, all of a sudden when I throw them in that 100 fly for the first time, they're not quite as scared.
I also imagine that probably has a secondary benefit of you giving them complex tasks and having them listen and process and execute,
Yeah.
which is obviously a lifelong skill. But with swimmers, it allows you as a coach to do so much more. Other than like when we flip to the boys' side, we repeat things 5 times.
Yeah. There's always like some amount of repeats, but
Yeah, but
I
still,
think
that's a great skill.
I think getting the kids self-aware is big. And I don't know, there's always that mix of like how much are kids playing outside and climbing in trees and whatever else. Like the more that you can kind of do some funky stuff and
Yeah,
make them think through it, like you do need some 200, 300, 400 swims out there. But like for me, if I'm running 8 400s, I'm going to get bored coaching that. And so then it's like, I've got to give them some layers of here's what I want to see. Maybe, the set might work as 8 400s, but then I'm going to tear it down where it's like this
yeah.
400, we're going to do some 25s and 50s. And then this 400s actually 4 100s instead. And, I like to go from there where we'll still hit yards, but then I make the challenge for them and me. Cause otherwise, I don't know. I think if I'm not entertained by what we're doing, they're going to have a real hard time too.
I agree. I agree. If this sport does not have a component of fun to it, whether it be practices, and I'm not saying you can't work because you need to put in the work, but it has to be fun too. Otherwise, this sport is just unbearable.
Oh yeah.
For the except for the rare few that are just wired different, but you can't expect all kids to be that way.
Right. Yeah. Staring at the black line for that long gets a little dull, and you have to mix it up.
That's why I went to backstroke right away because there is no black line. Ceilings can change from pool to pool, and they look very different and they work well for me.
I do
What is
enjoy
the
backstroke, except for in the
yeah?
summertime. Too many clouds, like
Yeah, I was gonna say you get a little.
not tinted enough. Yeah.
I get that. What are some things that you really enjoy coaching, and what are 1 or 2 things that you're like, God, I coach it, but I don't love it. I rely on either
Um,
someone to help me with it, or I kind of white knuckle through it. What are your things that you love and struggle a little with? We all have them.
yeah, I think I really enjoy actually working with like relay exchanges, trying to build that energy going into it.
Yeah,
Um, and I think when you have kids that are willing to attack it, and then you can build them into that mentality of like, I'm going to be the anchor, I'm going to chase this, but I'm going to hit that start the right way. I really enjoy that stuff. I do think sometimes, like we were talking about before we were on camera, of like breaststroke's great, kind of wonky to teach sometimes. Butterfly's okay, kind of wonky. Like there's just
yeah,
that dynamic of like how well do I know my body, and then how much can I build into something. Those do
sure.
take a little bit of extra. All right, I need another set of eyes or a mouth to tell what's going on.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And it's good, I think, for all coaches out there to be okay with the fact that you're not awesome at coaching everything and you probably don't love to coach everything. And for those things that you don't necessarily excel at or like, you got to find other people or other ways to kind of incorporate that in. What's your coaching staff there? It's obviously not just you.
Yeah,
Um,
we're
and how do
pretty
you
lucky.
lean on them?
We've had basically the same group now for like the last 5 years. I think anytime you can keep like a middle school coach around for 5 years, you've got a lot of good stuff going.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like Marin, she's our kind of young end of things. And she was a former East grad. So then that's awesome to have somebody
Nice.
that's been through a system. She swam for MSU and then she's back. Um, our kind of varsity assistant there is Emma, also an East grad. And then, she was working at the school for a long time and now she's teaching at Gustavus. But it's
Okay.
good to have that like local build.
Yeah.
On the diving side, we've got Laura, who was a St. Peter kid, and I do my best not to hold it against her. But like she's awesome as a coach. And then we've got Theo, who has been with us for a few seasons as a volunteer and now is getting some that big coaching pay that we offer. So
Huge
we've
pay.
we've
We're
got
all
a
in it
group.
for the money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're all in. That's great. And having that staff, it sounds like a variety and
Mhm.
experience is really helpful. At least it has been in my experience.
For sure. Yeah. Anytime I can, hand something off to one of the other coaches is great because one, they're probably going to want to go and take over their own team someday, or if I'm not
Hopefully.
around, and they know what to do. And so, I'll pass off different tasks and we'll talk about strategies that I'd want to see or, technique and stuff where it's like, I kind of have this vision in my head of what certain things should look like. And I try to coach it in that direction. And then, they look at me sometimes like, Summers, what are you talking about? Like, what are you getting
I
at? So, they keep me on my toes and
love coaches that can give you that reality check where you're
yeah,
like, yeah, I was completely blind to that. My bad.
right? Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I enjoy just watching coaching staffs function at meets. And you can
Mhm.
tell who's got that tight bond and that ability to kind of shift between who kind of takes the lead in that and leverages their strength. It's really cool to watch.
Oh,
What
yeah. Oh,
advice do
yeah.
you have for? We have a lot of new coaches this year. I was looking through the roster, and there is at least a dozen brand new first year coaches in this state. What advice do you have for them in case they're listening?
I would say, honestly, talk with the other coaches, either that are, like, part of your conference or your section that you'd see on a regular basis, and, they're the people that you're gonna see most often anyways, and, if you see them week 2 here, and then you see them again in week 6, and, you kinda compare, like, where do you feel like you're making progress versus what you've seen in them, like, they're gonna have so many great tips for you,
Yeah.
and not all coaches are as open as we'd want each other to be, but, I think if you keep asking around, plenty of people are gonna share all the details,
And I think a lot of
or
times
most.
that openness isn't that they don't want to, but you have to initiate that conversation with them. They're not going to go, "Hey, I hear you're new. Maybe I have some stuff for you." But if you reach out to them and be like, "I need some help here," they're usually more than willing. But you have to initiate that, and I get that can be scary
Mhm.
for a lot of new coaches. You
I
know,
think the Big 9, we've done some, like, really good things where, as coaching staff for boys and girls, we try to
yeah,
get together in the spring every year where we talk about, like, what was good or bad about the season, and then with, like, our conference meet and our JV meet for that stuff, and then, with email chains we're introducing whenever there's new coaches, and so then it's like, "Hey, as a new coach, here's everybody's email and all the
yeah.
contact, and, like, here's the expectations within the conference," and we try to get everybody within the Big 9 on the same page right away, and it just makes all of our seasons that much stronger.
Well, I mean, I can look across your conference and rack up centuries of great experience
Oh, yeah.
between Charlie and Feather out at Red Wing, Charlie at Faribault. You got the Magnusons, Ryan Kelly. I mean, the list just goes on. Right in your own town, right, Coach Burgess,
Yeah,
right?
right?
Like he's an icon,
Yeah,
and
we've
it's
got so
awesome
many
that you have
coaches.
that.
Yeah,
I know when you're in your
decades of
conference
youth.
and you've been around for 15 years, you're still a rookie, I think
Oh, yeah.
because you've got that kind of experience, and I think that's awesome. Let's look at the season kind of across the straight. What as you go into the 2026 season, what are some teams you're looking forward to follow, or some swimmers you're looking forward to, or divers?
Yeah.
See who's on your
I would say
list.
on the swimming side, like, Austin's building up some fantastic sprinters, and then they've got Gracie Greenman, who's good at everything
Yeah,
she's
I love
doing.
Gracie.
Right? Red Wing, they're a younger team, a little bit smaller of a team, but they've been putting up some big things. They had I think she was a freshman last year, but Sienna Yaki,
Okay.
girl like was blowing it away at sections, and I was like, this girl is going to be good to watch in the future. Um, Red Wings got a couple of solid divers too.
Always do. Yeah.
And so it's like each team's got a little bit of something. Even, that longtime nemesis of Northfield for us, like
Yep.
they're pulling kids out of the water,
Yeah.
that Gator mentality, like those kids are coming, they're gunning for it. And I
Yep.
know that it's always a good meet.
That's outstanding. And I love following Section 1A. I love following Section 1AA. That it's such a, I'd say, mature section. The
Yeah.
teams in there, the coaching in there, the processes, and you guys have like an encyclopedia of conference rules.
Yes.
The way that it's been structured and managed over the years it's just outstanding. It's fun to watch, and I hope. I know I was going to try to make it down to the Austin invite this year in October. That's a great one to catch, but I encourage people listening to follow some of the schools in the Big Nine and Section 1A and 1AA and see what happens, because there's a lot of fun stuff going on down there.
Definitely. Definitely.
Excellent. Anything last things you want to add before we wrap up the first and best ever live Minnesota swim show in the history of the state? I'm going to be honest. If anyone's had another one, I'd love to see it. Otherwise,
Right.
we're pioneering.
Yeah, no, I love this. I mean, with like trying new things as a coach, I think accessing anything on Swim and Vibe has been awesome. I love
Oh,
being
well,
able to
thank you.
look at what other teams are doing. Even like the little team feed where it's like, here's some pictures of our week. Like those are so
Yeah.
great. Seeing the smiles and all the different fun things teams do. And it's good for just morale building within the sport. And I think if our kids can look at that and be like, oh man, these teams are doing these things, like kind of helps keep building all of us forward.
That's awesome. Well, Greg, I appreciate you so much taking your time on a Sunday night. You've set the bar high for whoever comes next. But man, it's great. And you're always great chatting swimming with you. I certainly enjoy it. And I think you're one of the great coaches in the state. So thank you.
Oh, that's a huge boost there. Thank you. Yeah.